One other thing that led me to rethink my position quite seriously. I'm a Japan specialist. I've spent all of my life working in Japan, but like most Japanese and most specialists on Japan, I had never been in Okinawa, the southernmost province of Japan, the poorest province in the country, a Japanese equivalent of Puerto Rico, an island that was acquired by the Japanese Empire late in the 19th century, was always discriminated against, still is to this day, a place with 37 American military bases on it, and the last battle of World War II, the bloody Battle of Okinawa. In 1995, a very serious incident occurred. Two Marines and a sailor from our bases in Okinawa abducted, beat, and raped a 12-year-old girl. This led to the most serious anti-American demonstrations since the Japanese-American Security Treaty had been signed. I got interested. The governor of Okinawa, a man whom I admire a good deal, Masahide Ota, had invited me to come and visit, and I accepted. And for the first time, I decided I better go see this part of Japan that I had generally not been to anyway, just in the same way most specialists on America have never been in Puerto Rico. I was, to say the least, shocked to see what an array of American military bases added up to, and they'd been there for 60 years. Sexually violent crimes occurring at the rate of 2 per month, leading to court-martial committed by American troops. One thing after another. I began to look into this. My first reaction was that Okinawa was just off the beaten track. The press never gets down here. They don't see it. This is like the Soviet troops in East Germany, and they're remaining there even after the wall came down. But over time, as I began to study Okinawa and then to study the array of the most current number, 737 American military bases in other people's countries. That's the official Pentagon count. That I began to realize, no, Okinawa was not exceptional. It was unfortunately typical of the kinds of problems that are imposed on people who have to live, as say in the case of the Okinawans, 1,300,000 people in an extremely small island, living cheek by jowl with 17,000 Marines of the 3rd Marine Division, is something no American understands. There are no foreign troops in this country. That led me to start rethinking my own position on the Cold War. I began to see it more as that it had been a cover for imperialism all along, for our stepping into the shoes of British imperialism after World War II, when in 1946 they told President Truman that they could no longer maintain their position in Greece, and that we began to assume that role in a sort of seamless transfer of power among English-speaking imperialists. And this led to my first book, written before 9/11. It was published in 2000, called Blowback: The Costs and Consequences of American Empire. Blowback is a special art term invented by the CIA, used in the after-action report on the overthrow of the Iranian government in 1953, which has just recently been leaked, and so that we have the full text, in which the perpetrators of this incident say, we're going to get some blowback from this. The important thing about the concept, it doesn't just mean retaliation for things our government has done repeatedly over and over again around the world in other people's countries. It means retaliation for things our government has done that have been kept totally secret from the American public, so that when the retaliation comes, they're unable to put it in context. They don't see cause and effect, just as in the probably the most spectacular example of blowback we know, namely the Al-Qaeda attacks of September 11th, 2001. Following on this book, I hadn't intended to write 3 books. It was an inadvertent trilogy, but following on this, I then began to do a study of the American empire and what it actually means. It's an empire of military bases. In that sense, it's not like the British or French empires of colonies. It is much more like the Soviet empire of satellite nations created in Eastern Europe after World War II, with puppet governments integrated into the American economic system, and with military forces maintaining the balance of power. We, as I say, it's a huge, expensive apparat on every continent on the planet other than Antarctica. It does not have anything to do with American national defense. It has everything to do with the maintenance of American hegemony over the entire planet. This led to a book called The Sorrows of Empire, Militarism, Secrecy, and the End of the Republic that was published in 2004. It was completed just as we launched our invasion of Iraq in 2003. This then led to a further book that I didn't have in mind when I wrote the other two, called Nemesis. Nemesis is the ancient Greek goddess of revenge, the punisher of a peculiarly Grecian sin, hubris. Hubris caused by arrogance and indifference to other people's needs, something that I concluded was very much associated, not always with America in the post-war period, but particularly it was associated with America after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, when we began to say we had won the Cold War. We didn't win it. Both sides lost it. It's just they lost it first because they were always poorer. The Air Force started to speak of full spectrum dominance. We began to think of ourselves as a new Rome, capable of dominating the world through military force. It was these sorts of things that led to the book that I've called Nemesis, and the subtitle, The Last Days of the American Republic. It concerns the huge range of issues that have been imposed upon the American Republic by our imperialism and, of course, the inescapable accompaniment of imperialism, namely militarism. Something that both concepts are largely, or have been, in the American political discourse, largely taboo. They are now ever so slowly beginning to be recognized in the United States as genuine issues. They have been recognized for a long time by the people on the receiving end around the rest of the world. That blowback may have been secret from the American public. It's never secret from the people on the receiving end. But in a nutshell, that's how I got where I am. I didn't anticipate that all three books would turn out to be bestsellers. The first book was barely noticed when it was first published. It became a bestseller only after 9/11. As my publisher said to me, it's a hell of a way to sell books, but it's better to sell them than not sell them. And that's essentially the way that came along. I think I've now had my say. My purpose in all of this is to mobilize inattentive Americans to what they're about to lose, namely the freedoms associated with the American Republic, and to understand that once they lose it, they'll never get it back. The classic example of this was the Roman Republic, on which the American Republic was in a very large degree modeled, and the loss of the Roman Republic after the assassination of Julius Caesar into the Roman Empire, a polite term for what was in fact a military dictatorship. And that we're toying with that, I'm sorry to say, today very seriously.